Captain Vorthak the Magnificent stood on his command bridge, tentacles waving dramatically as he addressed his crew for what had to be the 15th time this week. And it was only Tuesday. Behold, my loyal warriors, the pathetic blue marble that dared to resist our glorious conquest. Vorthak gestured toward Earth with all four of his arms, which would have been impressive if he hadn't knocked over his ceremonial chalice in the process. The humans thought their primitive weapons could stand against the might of the Zephyrian Empire. How wrong they were. Lieutenant Griselda, his long-suffering aide, sighed and discreetly mopped up the spilled ceremonial wine with a towel she'd learned to keep handy. In her opinion, Vorthak had about as much military genius as a particularly dim space turnip. But the pay was decent, and the benefits package included dental. "Yes, sir, very impressive, sir," she muttered, while mentally calculating how many more years until retirement. Their cities burned like paper, their armies scattered like leaves before a cosmic wind, Vorthak continued, clearly warming to his theme. And now, not a single human draws breath in this entire galaxy. We have achieved total victory. The bridge crew exchanged glances. Ensign Blorbert raised a tentative claw. "Sir, didn't the scanning teams mention some possible life signs in the—" "Silence!" Vorthak boomed. "There are no survivors because I, Vorthak the Magnificent, am thorough. I am methodical. I am—" "About to get some very awkward news," Griselda finished under her breath. The bridge doors slid open with a theatrical hiss, and two Zephyrian soldiers dragged in what appeared to be the universe's most unimpressed prisoner. The human male looked like he'd been living in a dumpster for 3 months, which, as it turned out, wasn't far from the truth. Vorthak's victory speech died in his throat as he stared at living proof that, maybe, just maybe, his conquest wasn't quite as complete as advertised. "So," the human said, looking around the bridge with the enthusiasm of someone reviewing a particularly disappointing restaurant, "this is the fearsome command center of the mighty Zephyrian Empire. Gotta say the feng shui is terrible. And what's with all the purple? Did you guys raid a discount goth store?" Vorthak's mandibles clicked in confusion. This wasn't how captured humans were supposed to behave. Where was the begging, the pleading, the traditional weeping and gnashing of teeth? "Silence, primitive creature. I am Vorthak the Magnificent, conqueror of 1,000 worlds. You will show proper respect." The human scratched his scruffy beard and squinted at him. "Jake Murphy, survivor of one McDonald's. And buddy, if you conquered 1,000 worlds with interior decorating skills like this, those worlds must have surrendered out of sheer pity." Lieutenant Griselda couldn't help but smirk. She was starting to like this human already. "Impossible," Vorthak sputtered. "Our scanners detected no human life forms. Our purge was complete." "Yes, about that," Jake said, settling into what looked like a command chair and ignoring the indignant squawks from its previous occupant. "Your guys are about as thorough as a 3-year-old cleaning their room. I've been living in the basement of a McDonald's on 5th Street for 3 months, surviving on expired Happy Meals and whatever was left in the ice cream machine. Do you know how long a McFlurry stays good past its expiration date? Neither did I, but apparently it's longer than your attention span." Vorthak's eye stalks twitched. You hid in a food preparation facility?" "The basement, specifically. Right next to that big glowing thing your boys were too scared to investigate." Jake examined his fingernails with studied indifference. "You know, the one with all the warning signs in dead languages? Real spooky stuff. Your troops took one look and decided they had urgent business somewhere else." "What glowing thing?" Griselda asked, suddenly interested. Jake shrugged. "Dunno. It's been there since before I was born. My dad used to say it was left over from the old days back when humans did space stuff properly. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a primitive creature who managed to outwit your entire invasion force with the strategic brilliance of hiding behind a broken Slurpee machine." The bridge fell silent except for the gentle humming of life support systems and Vorthak's increasingly labored breathing. In the span of 5 minutes, this scruffy human had managed to undermine everything Vorthak had spent months bragging about. "Take me to this glowing thing," Vorthak commanded, his voice dangerously quiet. "Sure thing, Captain Fabulous," Jake said, standing and stretching. But fair warning, the basement smells like old fry grease and existential dread. Also, you might want to bring a physicist or a priest. Honestly, at this point, I'm not sure there's much difference. 20 minutes later, Vorthak found himself standing in what had once been the basement of a McDonald's restaurant, surrounded by the detritus of human fast food culture and face-to-face with something that made his advanced alien technology look like a child's toy. The vault door was massive, seamlessly integrated into the basement's foundation as if the restaurant had been built around it. Strange symbols pulsed with gentle blue light along its surface, and Vorthak's tricorder was having what could only be described as an electronic nervous breakdown trying to scan it. "So," Jake said, perching on an overturned Happy Meal box, "this is where I've been crashing. Great acoustics, terrible Wi-Fi. The vault's been here longer than the building, longer than the city probably. Nobody really knows what it does." "Preposterous," Vorthak muttered, running his scanners over the door. "Human technology is primitive. Stone tools and combustion engines. This is clearly impossible." "Yeah, well, impossible seems to be humanity's specialty," came a voice from behind them. Everyone turned to see an elderly human woman emerging from what appeared to be a bathroom built into the vault's antechamber. She wore a lab coat that had seen better decades and glasses held together with tape. "Dr. Phyllis Cogsworth," she announced, adjusting her spectacles and looking remarkably composed for someone who had apparently been living in a bathroom for 3 months. "Theoretical physicist, retired NASA consultant, and current expert on pre-diaspora human technology. Also, I've been wondering when someone would finally come down here. The toilet paper situation was getting critical." Vorthak stared at her. "Another survivor? This is impossible." "Oh, there are probably dozens of us scattered around," Dr. Cogsworth said cheerfully. "Humans are remarkably good at hiding when properly motivated. Now, what brings you to my office? And yes, this vault is my office. The bathroom is just where I've been sleeping." Jake gestured toward Vorthak. "Doc, meet Captain Conquest here. He thinks he eliminated humanity. I thought you might want to explain why he's wrong on multiple levels." Dr. Cogsworth's eyes lit up behind her taped glasses. "Oh, you're the one who conquered Earth? How marvelous. You've just activated humanity's insurance policy." "Insurance policy?" Griselda asked, her professional curiosity overriding her better judgment. "The vault contains what we call the reality adjustment engine," Dr. Cogsworth explained, pulling out a set of keys that looked suspiciously like they came from a hardware store. "Humanity built it back in the 23rd century, during our first attempt at galactic expansion. We were young, naive, and apparently had a very twisted sense of humor." The vault door began to open with a sound like cosmic gears grinding. "You see, our ancestors realized that conventional weapons had a fundamental flaw," Dr. Cogsworth continued as the door revealed a chamber filled with incomprehensible machinery. "They might kill your enemies, but they don't really teach them a lesson. So they built something better, something that would ensure humanity would always have the last laugh." The interior of the vault looked like someone had crossed a particle accelerator with a carnival funhouse and then decorated it with disco balls. Massive machines hummed with barely contained energy, their surfaces covered in buttons, levers, and what appeared to be a coin slot. "Behold," Dr. Cogsworth announced with the pride of a mother showing off her child's finger paintings, "the universe's most sophisticated practical joke delivery system." Vorthak pushed past her, his scanners going absolutely haywire. "This is impossible. The energy readings are off the charts. What does it do?" "Well, that depends on what you point it at," Dr. Cogsworth said, walking over to what looked like a targeting console crossed with a pinball machine. "The beauty of the reality adjustment engine is that it doesn't destroy things. It just makes them very, very embarrassing." "You're lying," Vorthak snarled, but his voice carried a note of uncertainty. Jake wandered over to a large red button marked, "Do not push unless you really mean it." "Doc, is this thing still operational?" "Oh my, yes. It's been charging for 300 years. Should be quite effective by now." Vorthak lunged forward, realizing too late what was happening. "Stop. You don't understand the consequences." "Sure I do," Jake said and pointed directly at the Zephyrian fleet visible through the vault's newly opened ceiling viewport. "I'm pointing at your ships, Doc. Fire when ready." Dr. Cogsworth grinned and pulled a lever that looked like it belonged on a slot machine. The reality adjustment engine roared to life and reality hiccuped. Above them, Vorthak's mighty fleet of conquest suddenly found itself transformed. The sleek, intimidating warships were still there, still functional, but they were now decorated with enormous flashing signs reading, "Visit Earth, we have tacos," in 17 different languages. Cheerful mariachi music began broadcasting from every external speaker, and each ship now sported a giant inflatable palm tree. "No," Vorthak whispered, watching his fearsome armada become the galaxy's most enthusiastic tourism advertisement. "Oh yes," Jake said, grinning. "Doc, I think I love humanity's ancestors." The communications console crackled to life with increasingly panicked reports from the fleet. Sir, we've been tacoized. The entire fleet is advertising Earth vacation packages. The Galactic Council is already retweeting us." Vorthak collapsed into a chair that materialized just in time to catch him. His reputation as a fearsome conqueror had just been transformed into something far more devastating. A really good meme. "The beauty of the reality adjustment engine," Dr. Cogsworth explained as she made tea on a hot plate she'd apparently hidden in the vault, "is that it doesn't technically hurt anyone. It just makes them impossible to take seriously ever again." Above them, the broadcasting continued. The fleet's AI systems had apparently decided to lean into their new role, adding helpful tips about Earth's climate and restaurant recommendations to their conquest reports. "This is a disaster," Vorthak moaned, his head in his hands. "The Galactic Council will never stop laughing. My enemies will frame screenshots of this. My mother is going to see this." "Should have thought of that before you decided to commit genocide, Sparkles," Jake said, settling into a lawn chair that Dr. Cogsworth had produced from somewhere. "Besides, look on the bright side. You're about to become the most famous being in the galaxy." Lieutenant Griselda was staring at her communicator in fascination. "Sir, we're trending on Galactic Talk. The mariachi version of our war hymn has been downloaded 4 billion times in the last 10 minutes. "I quit," announced Commander Splotchnik from the communications array. "I didn't sign up to be a tourism spokesperson. I have a reputation to maintain." Within minutes, similar declarations were coming in from across the fleet. Vorthak's carefully assembled invasion force was abandoning ship faster than rats fleeing a sinking spacecraft. "Don't take it personally," Dr. Cogsworth said, patting Vorthak's shoulder with grandmotherly sympathy. "Humanity's ancestors were very thorough. They planted these devices on 17 different worlds just in case something like this happened." Jake perked up. 17? What do the other ones do? "Oh, various things. There's one that makes everything taste like Brussels sprouts, another that causes uncontrollable interpretive dance, and my personal favorite, the one that makes everyone speak in limericks for a month." Vorthak looked up in horror. "You'd activate the others?" "Only if someone else tries to conquer Earth," Jake said reasonably. "I mean, we're not unreasonable. We're willing to negotiate." "What do you want?" Vorthak asked weakly. Jake pretended to consider this. "Well, for starters, Earth gets its independence back. Full sovereignty, no tribute, no interference. Second, you personally are going to help us rebuild by working in our new tourism industry. And third," he grinned, "Lieutenant Griselda gets your job." Griselda looked up from her communicator in surprise. "I do?" "You seem competent," Dr. Cogsworth observed. "Plus, you haven't tried to commit genocide recently. That's refreshing in a military commander." "I accept," Griselda said immediately. "It can't possibly be worse than working for him." 6 months later, Jake Murphy stood on the observation deck of what had once been Vorthak's flagship, now permanently moored as Earth's premier alien tourism center. Business was booming, and this, he told a group of fascinated Rigelian tourists, is where I survived for 3 months on nothing but expired Happy Meals and pure spite. Notice the strategic placement of the Slurpee machine, which provided both sustenance and cover from enemy patrols. The tourists chittered appreciatively and took photos. Jake had discovered that aliens found human survival stories absolutely fascinating, especially when they involved creative uses of fast food. Dr. Cogsworth had been hired by 6 different planetary governments to consult on defensive humor weapons. Her business cards now read, Dr. Phyllis Cogsworth, making your enemies look ridiculous since 2387. The steady income had allowed her to upgrade from the vault bathroom to a proper apartment, though she still kept her lab in the McDonald's basement. Lieutenant Griselda, now Admiral Griselda, had proven to be an excellent military commander once she didn't have to spend half her time cleaning up after Vorthak's disasters. The former Zephyrian Empire was now the Galactic Tourism Cooperative, and their customer satisfaction ratings were through the roof. As for Vorthak himself, he could be found most days working the gift shop counter, wearing a name tag that read, Hi, I'm Vorthak. Ask me about our I Got Conquered by Humans t-shirts. The humiliation had been remarkably therapeutic for his ego problem, and he'd discovered he actually enjoyed retail work. Who knew? Jake was just finishing his tour spiel when his communicator buzzed. Admiral Griselda's voice crackled through. Jake, we've got incoming. Looks like the Andromedan Empire didn't get the memo about what happens when you mess with Earth. Jake sighed and excused himself from the tour group. How many ships? About 300. They're demanding our immediate surrender and broadcasting something about avenging the honor of Vorthak the Magnificent. Okay, Jake said, making his way down to the vault. Doc, you there? Dr. Cogsworth's voice came through clearly. Right here, Jake. Which device would you like me to activate? Jake looked up at the approaching fleet, then at the reality adjustment engine which had been thoroughly cleaned and upgraded over the past 6 months. Surprise me, Doc. But maybe start with the one that makes them speak in limericks. I could use a good laugh. Coming right up. As the ancient human weapon powered up once again, Jake couldn't help but smile. Humanity might have been knocked down, but they'd never been knocked out. And as it turned out, the best way to deal with bullies wasn't to fight them. It was to make sure the entire galaxy would be laughing at them for the next 1,000 years. The reality adjustment engine fired, and somewhere in the approaching fleet, an alien admiral began composing very confused poetry about conquest and tacos. Just another Tuesday in the new normal.